We are now just 1 week away from the 2022 NFL Draft, and over the next 7 to 10 days or so, Matt and I are going to talk through the top 10 picks in this draft, talk about who's going to be selected where and by who. We'll start here with the number 10 overall pick, the New York Jets. Matt, what do you think the Jets will select with the number 10 pick here?
Yeah, I think the Jets are going to select Jermaine Johnson II, the edge rusher out of Florida State. Now, this is a guy that has moved around a little bit, but it's an amazing story. A last chance U guy. He was with Georgia for 2 years before he finally decided to transfer to Florida State. He got some great looks and just blew up there. Went up against some really good talent, including another guy that we both think is going to go early in this draft, Ikem Ekwonu, the offensive tackle from NC State. Johnson has that athleticism. He has the build of a NFL pass rusher.
Certainly.
And with the New York Jets having 2 picks in the first round, I think, and in the top 10, I think you have to go offense and you have to go defense. And I feel like, in particular for what the Jets need, I think they're going to go after a more specific guy on offense at 4. And then because of some of the depth and talent on the defensive side of the ball, you can trust that Jermaine Johnson is probably going to fall to you at 10, and then you can make that move there. Or if he's not available, I think they like some of those other guys that might be like a Kyle Hamilton or a Sauce Gardner. So I do think they're going to go pass rush, and they're going to go with that, and then offense at number 4.
That's very interesting. I'm glad you brought up that the Jets have 2 top 10 picks, obviously at number 4 and number 10. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they kind of work that. But I think that the Jets go a receiver at number 10. I think that they're going to draft Drake London, the wide receiver out of USC, the best possession wide receiver in this draft, a legit goal line threat, a jump ball threat at 6'5". And this is exactly what Zach Wilson, franchise quarterback in the New York Jets, needs in year 2. You have guys like Elijah Moore, who was great as a rookie. Guys like Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, kind of slot guys who work the middle of the field. Drake London would kind of provide that true outside X receiver, again, that jump ball, goal line threat that Wilson needs and this offense needs to take it to the next level. So that's kind of where I see them going. I think they kind of address the defensive side, maybe a pass rusher, even maybe an interior lineman with the number 4 pick. But and again, we know that the Jets want to add to this wide receiver room, evidenced by the fact that they were very, very much involved in the Tyreek Hill trade before he was shipped off to Miami. So the Jets want to improve that receiver room for Zach Wilson. I think Drake London will be the perfect fit there for him in that offense.
I know you talked with London's coach and you've been high on him ever since. So, I mean, it makes sense. And I think we both agree. We just went with a different route. I think they have a specific guy they might want to go at with 4, and London's going to be great.
100%, yeah. And I had a great chat with the high school coach of Drake London. Got some great insight on kind of the person and the player that he is. So go check that out on DVMSports.com. And also your story on Jermaine Johnson. I know that I wouldn't let you leave out there too. Go check that out as well. Some great stuff there on the website. But how about number 9 overall pick? The Seattle Seahawks will likely be selecting there if they don't trade out of it. Where do you see the Seahawks going with number 9?
Well, I think a lot of people think that they might go quarterback. Now, I just don't think that they're sold on this quarterback class like a lot of the other teams that might be looking for a quarterback. I think they're going to do what they should have done when they still had Russell Wilson on the team, and that is go after a pass protector and an offensive lineman. And at this point, I think it's a tie basically between Evan Neal and Ikem Ekwonu. And so I think I like Neal more, so I think he's going to go earlier. So I think they're going to go with Ikem out of NC State. They're going to add that guy that can be a starting tackle in the NFL and start rebuilding that offensive line, especially since probably their most dynamic offensive player now is a running back. You're going to need some O-line so that I know there's DK, but who's throwing to DK?
Yeah,
who's throwing to, that's more of my point is I think this is going to be a run first team. So you want to address that line.
I mean, Pete Carroll would certainly love for it to be a run first team.
Absolutely.
Based on how, he's kind of run that offense. And obviously probably a big reason Russell Wilson is no longer in Seattle is because of that kind of philosophy. But
just hand it off to DK.
But I agree here. I think the Seahawks, obviously, quarterback is a position that they need to address and upgrade, but I don't think that they're going to do it here with the number 9 overall pick. I think it's possible that they bring in a Baker Mayfield, free agency, or not necessarily free agency, but trade for him. either before or after the draft. But in terms of the draft, I think they'll address offensive line like you. But I think Charles Cross, the tackle out of Mississippi State, is going to be the name. I think Evan Neal and Ike, the great offensive lineman out of North Carolina State, I think both of those guys will honestly be off the board before the Seahawks draft here at number 9. So they'll go with the best available tackle at that point, which would be Charles Cross, who many people think is the best pass protecting tackle in this class, somebody who should be able to start, come in and play for you right away. So I think that's the route they go to. And again, Pete Carroll, if it's up to him, he'll run Chris Carson 35 times a game and run play action 15 times off of that. So I think that's kind of the philosophy that the Seahawks are going to, kind of champion here moving forward in the post-Russell Wilson area. Not a sexy pick by any means here by the Seahawks, but again, there's not too much sexiness going on in Seattle anyway to begin with.
Yeah, O-line picks are never sexy, but they're much needed, and Seattle has needed one for almost 10 years now.
100%. And we can't wait to see what Seattle and the rest of these teams do next week. Check back in with us over the next week or so as Matt and I unveil our rest of the top 10 picks of the 2022 NFL Draft. But for Scott Proctor and Matt Morris here, we'll catch you on the next episode of Simple Questions.